James Coburn was the toughest action star in Hollywood.
He pulled off his own tricks, threw real knives, and never ran away from danger. In 1979, though, something on the set changed everything. Overnight, his hands got twice as big.
He wasn't seen in Hollywood for 10 years. Fans thought he had given up.
The truth was not as good.
His secret hurt so much that he couldn't even button his clothes. What killed the man who didn't seem like he could be hurt? You will be shocked by the answer. James Harrison Coburn III was born in Laurel, Nebraska, on August 31, 1928. Laurel is a very small town with less than 1,000 people who need to save every penny.
In the early 1930s, his father ran a small shop that just about made it, and his mother taught at a nearby school to make ends meet. He often read him Swedish folktales to avoid the hard days going on around him.
She was strict but kind.
The open fields around Laurel felt wide but empty, almost as if the land itself was tired.
The Great Depression hung over everything.
Back then, every family he knew had to work a little harder just to stay alive. This taught him how important it is to be tough. The Dust Bowl put his family in danger when he was only 5 years old. Due to the drought and the Great Depression, his father's shop fell apart in 1933. They loaded up everything they owned into an old truck and drove to California.
The trip took weeks and went through places with empty stores and lots of hungry people. They were tired and broke when they got to Compton in 1933.
Their rental house was very small and barely kept together. They lived in cold places that didn't have heat and ate cheap food. His mother did odd jobs and his father looked for any job that paid. James was young and had to watch his parents get tired before it got dark. In those years, Compton was full of families who were having a hard time. Many of them were newcomers who were trying to start over.
James learned early on how to stay alive.
He bought newspapers on a broken bike and rode it around town for a few cents every day when he was 8 years old. He learned how to be tough in the same way that other kids learn how to play games. He worked with his dad in repair shops and watched the tools hit metal over and over again.
The nights were calmer, though.
His mom turned on a lamp and read him stories that were very different from the rough streets outside. The stories were about woods, giants, and animals that could talk. He paid close attention to everything, taking in what people did, how they spoke, and how they carried their fears and dreams.
Those early observations helped him easily play complicated roles later on.
He was 10 years old when he learned how to weld car parts and fix engines like a kid twice his age. Even though his dad's hands were always sore, he never stopped.
James learned how to keep up with that speed. When money ran out, he and his family had to eat beans for weeks.
The hardship changed him deeply. Being poor made him feel trapped, and he told himself he would find a way to get out of it. His father's drive became a part of him, and it kept him going even when things seemed hopeless years later.
In 1940, everything broke. The bank took what little they had left and erased it.
Under the stress, his father broke down and tried to kill himself. The event shocked James, who was 12 at the time, and he will always remember it. He kept the memory close to his heart and let it shape the parts he played later on. He liked men who seemed strong on the outside but were hurt on the inside. Men who kept going even though they felt like they were broken inside. From then on, he worked extra jobs, kept his mother from getting hurt, and pushed himself to grow up faster than a boy should have. As he became a teenager, Compton Junior College was the place where he started to change. He was very tall at 6 feet and 2 inches, but it was his voice that made a big difference. In 1948, he was asked to talk about local rivers in a short film. Everyone was shocked by his deep, gravelly voice when he spoke. They watched the movie over and over because his description didn't sound like a student project.
It seemed real. Like it had been lived in.
He learned for the first time what it was like to have just his voice hold people's attention.
He started to think about becoming an actor.
When he was 16, he fell in love with radio plays after hearing Orson Welles bring the War of the Worlds broadcast from 1938 to life. He practiced for hours in his shed with a microphone he made himself out of old metal and wires. His friends told him he sounded like a real movie outlaw after he tried tough guy rants and rough lines. That confidence built the rough voice that millions of people would later know, even though it was just a game at the time. In order to help his family, he quit school when he was 17 and went to work at a gas station. In 1946, he was putting gas in a broken-down Model T Ford when it blew up in front of him. As the flames shot up, he just barely made it out with some minor burns. He had a scar on his left arm that would never go away. He kept it hidden under his long sleeves and thought about how close he was to death. The scary event gave him a stronger drive to go back to college.
He didn't just want dirty hands and dangerous jobs.
It was important to him that he could get away from things. When he got back to Compton Junior College, he joined the theater club. During the year 1949, he got the part of Biff in a school production of Death of a Salesman. The story of a broken family hit close to home for him, and he put all of his own pain into the act. The director, who used to be on Broadway, was shocked by how honest he was. A talent agent who came to school told him he was unique and suggested he think about going to Hollywood.
He was different after that night. He thought that his voice, his height, his appearance, his pain, and everything else about him might be able to become something bigger than the life he had known. The first job that paid him was when he was 19. He did voiceovers for drive-in movies for $5 an hour in 1947. He added some funny, off-the-cuff jokes and tough guy lines, and people stayed to hear him. The people in charge of the theater started talking about the funny kid whose voice people would never forget. James saw that small paycheck as proof that he could make a living on this strange new road. After that, there was war. In 1950, when he was 22, he joined the U.S. Army during the Korean War and learned how to drive a truck at Fort Ord. Because he was 6 feet 5 inches tall, he was often put in charge of keeping an eye on things during drills. He became tougher because of the muddy hills, long hours, and big loads. He kept that toughness with him into his action parts because he knew what real grit was. He worked as a DJ for Armed Forces Radio while he was stationed in Texas. Between songs, he played jazz records and said cool, sarcastic things. People in the barracks started calling him the Velvet Voice.
His words had the power to make people feel better, even when things were bad. In 1951, while working in Mainz, Germany, he was asked to read over secret military training pictures. There were more and more spies, so one night he hid film reels in a fake truck panel to get away from strangers who were checking out cars. It was a tense time, and it didn't seem too unlikely that someone would try to steal the movies. That memory was like a secret thread that he carried with him and later used to make his cool, calm film presence. He sneaked into acting classes at the University of Texas while on leave in 1952 and ended up playing Sky Masterson in A Soldier's Review of Guys and Dolls. People in the army praised him and cheered him on. It was the first time he thought acting could be more than a hobby.
It might be a life.
He got out of the army in 1953 and went home with a duffel bag full of hopes and dreams.
He went to UCLA to study acting and worked nights as a parking valet to pay for it.
He parked cars for people who were living the life he wanted. He got a little closer with each story he read. He kept going because he had already been through poverty, war, explosions, and sadness.
He was not scared of Hollywood. It wasn't really that. His big break came in 1956, when he went to an off-Broadway show called The Iceman Comet. He was so into the part of Willie, a drifter, that he almost cut Jason Robards' real life during an imagined knife fight. Before someone fell to the floor and died, the stage manager had to rush in and stop them. People behind the scenes said he was too bold for his own good, but critics loved how honest he was. It looked like Coburn didn't care. He learned that telling the truth in a crazy moment could make people remember it forever, even if it scared the cast. Seeing that excitement made him want to go to Hollywood even more, even though he knew it would be dangerous there. It wasn't until 1959 that he was filmed for the first episode of The Twilight Zone.
Due to stage fright, he almost didn't go to the audition. But once shooting began, he let go and made up line after line until Rod Serling leaned forward and told everyone to keep going.
Serling later said that Coburn's rough, unpredictable style gave the episode its edge and helped the show's mood as a whole.
Before that one moment, Coburn was a stage actor hoping for a chance. After that, he was a screen performer whose voice and steady stare could win people over. The events of the previous year were very different. He tried out for the part of Maggio in From Here to Eternity in 1958, and during his screen test, he broke a prop gun in half. The break made it take longer to shoot, and the crew was so mad about it that they quickly turned it down. He could have given up, but instead he took the small Western fighter they offered him as a reward.
Some people said he was awkward, maybe bad luck, or maybe too strong. He didn't care about it and kept going. It worked out. If he kept showing up, the next door might be easier to get through after the last one closed. In the fall of that same year, he joined If Gun Will Travel as a gunman. He wouldn't let anyone else do his tricks, so he raced a horse over rough ground until he fell hard and hurt his wrist. It was over, he went back up, and the scene was over. He was called the toughest actor in Hollywood by the team. That name stuck with him and slowly changed how he played tough guys on TV and in movies. He didn't act that way because he wanted to, but because that's how he always was. He got into a contract fight in 1959 that almost stopped everything. Columbia Pictures wanted him to play the role of a wanted criminal, but the pay was too low for him, so he turned them down. He almost lost his job because of it, but his agent pushed for him. Instead, Coburn got the part of Wit in Ride Lonesome, which became a quiet favorite. He learned that you could be firm in talks and still get what you want.
He changed when he gained confidence.
Then it got hot.
Ride Lonesome was filmed in Death Valley, where it can get as hot as 120 degrees. To get through the day, crew members put their hats in cold water. Coburn lost a lot of water twice, but he wouldn't stop to rest. He walked through the dust even though it made him dizzy until the director yelled cut.
That show showed what kind of person he was becoming, someone who would rather suffer than lie on TV.
When he played Britt, the knife thrower, in The Magnificent Seven in 1960, everything went off the rails for him. Yul Brynner laughed about the time he used a real knife and got so close to her ear for the apple scene for years. The team stood still as the blade cut through the air.
Coburn didn't make a face.
The movie made over $8 million around the world after being shot in Mexico.
And brought him into the light.
He even co-produced the follow-up instead of taking a bigger paycheck because he wanted to be in charge. Hollywood saw that he wasn't just another hired actor, but someone who knew how the business worked. After 2 years, he got into a fight with Steve McQueen over close-up shots in Hell is for Heroes. The fight got worse until punches were thrown, and work stopped for a whole day. The fight between the two men turned into a strange kind of friendship. Their tension filled the movie, giving it a rough reality that made the scenes feel like they could blow up at any time. When The Great Escape came out in 1963, Coburn went even further. He played a man who faked escape papers and learned the real tricks from people who had been prisoners of war. He learned how to do motorbike tricks with a German circus group and crashed so hard that he broke 2 ribs.
He kept making movies anyway.
The cost of making it was over £3 million, making it one of the most expensive British movies of its time.
Coburn's injuries were not taken care of.
They became part of the story and became part of the film's memory. In the same year, he wowed audiences in Charade with Audrey Hepburn. His flirty lines were made up on the spot, and tabloids started to spread stories. That made the company want to cast him as the romantic lead, and the movie made more than $5 million. The way Coburn mixed danger and charm made him unforgettable and helped him get even better in Hollywood. By 1966, when Our Man Flint came out, things were even crazier. It took Coburn 3 weeks to learn judo, and insisted on doing all of the tricks by himself. During a rough fight, he hurt his shoulder and kept fighting. He trained for almost 20 hours and did 15 takes of the final fight. Producers had never seen a character who was so ready to take a beating. After that movie, he was a screen star. He was asked to play James Bond the next year. He told people it felt too British after reading the plot, though. Instead, he made the same choice as Flint and added a nunchuck fight that was based on lessons he got from Bruce Lee in 1964 and 1966. It took 2 days to film the scene, which became famous. Coburn thought that making his own way was more important than taking on someone else's part. What did you do during the battle? Hey Dad, he drank real Sicilian wine in front of the camera. Because 50 cases were ordered to make sure they were real. When the team covered him in industrial flour for 3 hours during a pie fight, things went badly. He made things up on the spot until the director decided that the chaos made the scene better. The company spent $12,000 on the joke, but it was one of the most memorable parts of the movie.
Then in 1966, Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round came out. Insiders leaked real Detroit airport plans that were used in the production. Real workers even talked about protection. After the movie came out, the FBI looked into the leak in secret.
Coburn was afraid of getting stuck playing bad guys, so he asked for a twist ending where one of his characters gets caught. He became known as someone who took chances on and off screen because of how realistic his movies were. For Waterhole No. 3, he filmed in Monument Valley, but coyotes stole food from the set. Coburn made fun of the coyotes by saying that they were his co-stars. In fact, he stole a $500 gold nugget from the set and later gave it to a museum. It took Coburn a while to figure out what to do when things went wrong in this $1.5 million movie. In 1971, during Duck You Sucker, the risk kept going up when he set off a real explosive on a bridge. Near the bridge, up to 50 pounds were left behind.
The fuse went off by accident, and a small blast burned his beard and eyebrows. Leon didn't throw away the video because it looked too real to do so. Later, Coburn laughed and said that the wound made his character look like he had been through fire. After that came Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid with Sam Peckinpah in 1973. Because of fights over the plot and editing, the set looked like a battlefield. Coburn hit a director with a punch during the Mexico shoot. The movie was 21 days late and cost $1.6 million more than planned. Bob Dylan looked at the chaos and used it to influence how his music sounded. Coburn's determination gave the movie a scary feel that stays with us today. In The President's Analyst, Coburn played a doctor who was stuck in a world full of fear. The plot of the movie made the government angry because it reflected real worries about surveillance. The FBI looked into it and told the company that the agencies had to change their names. It got so good that Coburn voiced 12 roles during dubbing. The bad reviews made the movie become a cult favorite. The water tank for the submarine scenes broke down and filled too quickly during the Americanization of Emily. A lot of actors almost drowned. Safety rules were made stricter and production stopped. Because the movie was against war, Coburn used the stress to give his character a mix of fear and charm that worked really well with the message. The two fell in love quickly and got married on November 11, 1959. While she was taking pictures at a party in Hollywood and he was still trying to make a name for himself. At the start of their years together, they worked on long film sets with lots of lights. By 1961, they had a son named James Jr. Lisa came in 1963, and the kids spent a lot of their childhood touring movie sets like the one in The Magnificent Seven, which took place in 1960. While their father practiced scenes, they played among the props. Even though there was a lot of moving around and traveling in those early years, Beverly raised the kids mostly by herself because Coburn was working long hours. The family kept moving to new sets and towns, but Coburn stayed away from home more and more because of the pressures of fame. Over time, that slow pull made cracks that they didn't notice until they were too big to ignore. By 1975, it was almost impossible to hide the cracks. People said that Coburn was getting too close to Candice Bergen while he was shooting Bite the Bullet. Beverly felt heavy about it because she had already missed so many parties and school events over the years. There was hope that therapy would bring back the spark, but it only showed how far apart he had become. He was tired all the time. Always busy with work and never seen. Bit by bit, the truth came out. He was too focused on his job to notice that he was losing touch with his family. In 1979, after 20 years of marriage, they finally got a divorce. The news shocked everyone because Coburn had always played a calm and steady family man on screen, even though things were coming apart at home. Following the split, Coburn began dating British singer Lindsay DePaul and stayed with her for 4 years. They made music together. In small rooms, they wrote blues songs like I and the Blues for You, which they recorded in her London home. Her fans were shocked to see the rough-edged actor singing blues with her on stage. The friendship was good at first, but it got rough when Coburn kept doing the same things. His shooting schedule kept them from spending time together, and Lindsay always felt like she had to wait for him to get back from a faraway set. In 1984,
he turned down a trip to Europe that they had planned because he had to work on a movie at the last minute.
That was the last break.
A lot of people talked about their breakup in the news, and Lindsay said that he always put work before love.
The wedding took place in Versailles on October 22, 1993.
Robert Vaughn was one of the about 100 people who went. The lights and old stone made the place look almost too real.
Coburn said that he finally felt at ease.
After 2 years, the James and Paula Coburn Foundation was made to help kids with arthritis, since Coburn had been dealing with serious rheumatoid arthritis at the time. Sometimes the pain was so bad that Paula had to help him get dressed. Still, he kept going with her help by his side. It made a lot of money for research, and Coburn often said that Paula gave him the strength to deal with the illness that almost ended his life and career. Behind all the glitz, Coburn had family problems that were much worse than what the press saw. He became involved with drugs when his son James Jr. did in the 1980s, and Coburn took a tough stance.
When things got too dangerous, they sent him to a strict rehab program. Recovery took a while, and everyone was changed by the fight.
In the end, though, James Jr. found steady work in production.
Lisa made a different choice.
She got into photography like Beverly did and made a name for herself. She said that seeing her father keep going through sickness, sadness, and long periods of pain taught her how to keep going with her own work.
Coburn first started to deal with rheumatoid arthritis on the set of Firepower in 1979.
He was 51 years old when he woke up one morning with hands that were twice as big as they normally were. He had pills in his trailer and put tape on his hands so they wouldn't look twisted on camera. He even tried to keep it from Sophia Loren while they were filming together. As he spoke in 1999, the illness made him feel like he was turning into stone. When he stood up, sweat ran down his face. It took away his strength every day and pushed him to a place he never thought he would get to. It got so bad for him by 1985 that he could barely button his clothes. It didn't matter what role he took, he couldn't even hold a gun, he turned it down. His only job during that time was voiceovers and a few small roles, like High Risk in 1981. He spent almost 10 years living in his Beverly Hills home.
Friends were wondering if he was no longer in any movies.
Every day was a slow battle, and each step sapped him of strength. In 1988, just to feel better, he tried experimental steroids. They made him gain 20 pounds all of a sudden and gave him wild mood swings that made him snap at people he had never been angry with before. He kept going to doctors and therapists for treatments, even going to Mexico for herbal infusions that didn't work. His pain had taken over everything, and he was desperate. He was ready to take a chance on anything that might give him even a little of his life back after years of treatments that didn't work. He walked with a cane that he sometimes hid as a prop by 1990. Years ago, he told Bruce Lee that the pain made him think bad things that he couldn't tell anyone else. He said that inside him he felt like stone was rolling around. Every day turned into a test of strength. He promised himself that he would fight it like the guys he played on TV in movies. He kept going even though his body was trying to stop him.
In 1996, everything was different. When he found MSM pills at a health show.
He could move around easily for the first time in years after the pain went away in a few months. He put himself to the test by throwing knives again, and this time he hit the goal right away. He told everyone who asked that MSM had made his life better. Even though doctors weren't sure if it worked, Coburn was sure of what he felt. He was able to go back to real acting after that. And it made it possible for him to come back. He made Affliction in 1997, when he was 69 years old. The temperature dropped below -10 degrees Celsius in Quebec, making it very cold. Still, he insisted on pulling off his own tricks. During a chase scene, he even ran faster than Nick Nolte, who was 15 years younger. They spent $6.3 million on the movie, and Coburn gave it his all. In 1999, when he won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, it felt like a small win over the years that the disease had taken away from him. Because he was so angry, he caused another storm in April 2000 when he went on Larry King Live and said that the FDA was holding back MSM. He said it helped him, and he didn't need studies to back it up. The supplement world was shocked by what he said. Companies sued him because they said he helped their rivals and started arguments about natural treatments.
Coburn stuck to everything he said and gave money from his work at MSM to study into arthritis. He was strong enough to play parts that touched new generations, even though he had been through a lot of pain. The voice he used for Henry J. Waternoose 3 in Monsters Incorporated was deep and gravelly. It took more than 150 recordings to get that just right. When he was 73 years old, he played Thunderjack in Snow Dogs. He ran through the snow even though doctors told him not to because it could hurt his hips. He died quickly in Beverly Hills on November 18, 2002, just hours after enjoying 9 years of marriage to Paula. 74. She said he died in her arms while they were listening to music. Everyone was shocked by his death because he had been busy, working, and making plans. Fans all over the world were sad about the death of a man who had overcome many challenges in his life.